What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the program, Sidelined. If you're not already, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment. We're going to get right into it. It was NFL Championship weekend. My three biggest takeaways from this slate of games. Number one, the NFL fans were robbed of a good NFC title game. And frankly, I'm very upset about this because the San Francisco 49ers versus the Philadelphia Eagles, that was setting up to be a fucking classic. It was a great game. Two awesome defenses, two dynamic offenses. Both teams were really hot, the two hottest teams in the NFC. And I think everyone thought it was generally a pick'em game, really a 50-50 game. And we were robbed of a quality game because as soon as Brock Purdy got hurt on the first drive, that game was over. They put in the fourth-string Josh Johnson. He fucking sucked. And then he got hurt too. And Purdy couldn't throw. They were literally playing without a quarterback. It was probably the worst playoff game I've ever seen in my entire life. And I feel victimized. I feel like I'm the victim. I was taking advantage of because I was led on. I was put on this was going to be good, And they went behind our back, and they took advantage of us. And I don't like it. I feel betrayed, and it's a fucking shame. Number two. For me personally, and I think everyone else, Patrick Mahomes has officially surpassed Aaron Rodgers on the all-time quarterback list. And I know it's happened fast, but you know what? Rodgers has been in the league, almost 20 years. He's been he's won a bunch of MVPs. I think he was 4. He's been to 1 Super Bowl. Mahomes has been in the league 6 years. I think he's been the starter 5 years. Every year as a starter, he's been to a conference championship game. And he's already going to be in his 3rd Super Bowl. Rodgers has been to 1. Mahomes has already won 1. He's going to his 3rd. Mahomes is probably going to win MVP this year. He'll have 2 MVPs. Mahomes, and I don't want to hear this Rodgers regular. Mahomes, listen, they didn't have Tyreek Hill. We found a way to get it done. I think all time already, Mahomes has passed Rodgers. I think he's nowhere close, obviously, to Brady. But you want to talk all time? I'm giving you my top 10 all-time quarterbacks list. I would have Mahomes ahead of Rodgers, and I think this weekend solidified it. Doesn't matter what happens on Sunday. Bengals should be upset. The Cincinnati Bengals and their fans should be fucking furious about the refs because they got fucking jobbed. They got hosed. The fix was in for the fucking Chiefs. There were so many. You watched that game. The officiating was clearly one-sided in favor of Kansas City. There were a number of calls that decided the game. Talk about the Joe Burrow grounding. You want to talk about they got a fucking free third down play. The worst one, the most egregious. I mean, this cost them a trip to the Super Bowl. It was at the end of the game, tie game. Mahomes had to scramble, and he got slightly pushed out of bounds. Now, letter of the law, wasn't the right call? Probably. But you call that, last second of the fucking game to go to the Super Bowl. It made it a 45-yard field goal, which is pretty, for Butker, it's a safe bet. If it was a 60-yarder, that's a tough kick. He makes it. But that call pretty much decided the game. It was a horseshit, ticky-tack, fucking stupid call. And I think the Bengals should have a right. They're right to be mad. And I'm mad, too. I'm not even a Bengals fan. I'm mad, too. With that said, I'm very excited to welcome back everyone's favorite, Sam Reed. Sam, how you doing?
I'm good, Matt. Thanks for having me back on.
Well, Sam, last week we didn't have... Dude, you should have saw... I was crying, and all the fans were pissed. It was honestly a sad episode. I wasn't happy. It just wasn't the same. You can't replicate what you bring to the table.
Well, Matt, I don't think we were watching the same episode, because if I remember correctly, you were saying that, we're on to better things with Christian Barrasso at the helm.
I never said
bigger and better things. And if I remember correctly, on the Movie Mob podcast, you said, I hope he doesn't die in a plane crash or a car crash. So
I meant it.
I'm here now.
Praying for you.
So I'm here to fucking make your life a living hell.
Thank God you made it back. I couldn't sleep every night. I went to bed. Hope Sam's okay.
Sure you did, bud.
I prayed to God every night. Please bring Sam back to us in one piece.
Well, this might be your final episode.
All right. First game, Bengals, Chiefs. The Chiefs won 23-20. Mahomes finally beats Burrow. He had been 0-3 against them previously. He got his first win. And the referees, one of the biggest stories, they kind of hosed Cincinnati. Sam, I'll ask you, do you think this was a fair outcome? What do the refs, the Bengals, all of it, what are your thoughts?
I mean, first initial take from this is that the refs definitely were on Kansas City's side. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. In terms of the calls, I would say it was more 70-30.
Okay.
with the calls, especially late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
That whole fourth quarter, I believe it was all KC with the calls. There's a couple of notable plays, some that you mentioned earlier in the takeaways that you had initially. One of them is on the punt return. At the end of the game, Sky Moore returns it to midfield after, the ball was kicked to the 25 of KC. He returns it to around the 50, but there was an illegal block in the back that the officials missed. Like the sideline judge, he was right there, missed the call. It was very blatant. It was two guys just blocking the guy out of the way. He stood no chance. Couldn't do anything about that. They didn't call it, of course, because they wanted KC to win. Then you got the third and fourth play. I believe it was with 21 seconds left.
Yep.
Mahomes is about to get sacked, throws the ball, a couple yards ahead of him into the ground blatantly just to avoid the sack. Even though Travis Kelce was a couple yards away from that ball, they did not call intentional grounding, which is, awful because Burrow had the same sort of outcome with a play similar in the quarter on the final drive that Cincy had, where he threw the ball into the ground. P. Ryan was in the area, but they called it grounding. So, if you're going to call a game like this, big game, you got to call it fair. So if they call it grounding on one side, they got to call it grounding on the other side.
You just want consistency. Even if the refs are bad, you want it to just be consistent, the same calls on each side. You know what
Exactly. Don't make it very blatant that you're on one side,
For me, I think the officiating was bad all game, Sam. I agree, and I think the Bengals definitely got the worst end of that. That call specifically, though, the out-of-bounds call, I want to talk about that because that literally decided who goes to the Super Bowl. If they don't call that, 60-yard field goal, tough field goal, they probably go to overtime. Who knows what happens? That's a fucking... by the letter of the law, I guess, but ticky-tack to go to Super Bowl, you call that? That's fucking bullshit. I think football fans would all agree.
I think it's a little bit of a soft call, a little bailout call on the officials' standpoint.
Soft
but
like
I think before that, if anything, if they're going to call that penalty, they should have called 2 holding penalties on the Kansas City linemen. I believe it was 57 and 65. They were holding 2 guys. It was like 91 and some other like D tackle or DN that were trying to rush Patrick Mahomes. He had all day to throw. And usually on these plays, when the quarterback scrambles, there's usually a holding call because how could he, just scramble away for like 8 yards with nobody in the, circumference of them. But yeah, no, it was very blatant. They were up around the neck area, which they called a similar play earlier in the game for hold that actually limited KC from scoring the touchdown. It was the Pacheco touchdown.
Yeah.
But they didn't call it here in the biggest moment of the game, which ultimately cost Cincy the game.
Well, Sam, I think we're both very upset also by the outcome because, Cincinnati. We both bet Cincinnati.
Well, I'm not mad about losing the money. I'm mad in the way that we lost the money. It came down to the officials. The officials literally cost us.
Well,
this
I'm
game.
mad about the money. I could give a shit, but for me, it's dollar bills.
Oh yeah, you're pretty stingy with your money.
Bread maker. Oh, come on.
No, we all know.
All right, come on. All right. Next game. Let's get into the next game. All right. Eagles, 49ers. This game, honestly, dude, I'm not gonna lie. This was probably the worst playoff game I'm not exaggerating. I've ever seen in my life. It was so bad. We watched the Strange Thing About the Johnsons halfway through this game, which was the best movie ever. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's fucking hilarious. No, it's really funny. But what ruined this game is on the first drive for San Fran, Brock Purdy got hurt. They put in the 4th-string quarterback, Josh Johnson. He sucks. He 15th year. He's went on 13 different teams. He's awful. He gets hurt. They have to put Hurdy back in. They literally can't pass the ball. They just have to run it. It was a terrible game. Philly goes back to the Super Bowl. Sam, I'll ask you 2 things. Do you think, 1, Philly earned it? And do you think it would have been differently if Purdy had been healthy?
I would say Philly earned their position to be in this game from how they played in the regular season and how their regular season schedule was. They had the second easiest schedule in all the National Football League. So, that'll pay you some dividends. So going 14-3 definitely helped them. They got the first round bye. They got the matchup that they wanted. They played the Giants the first round.
The Daniel Jones Giants.
Coming off a win versus the fraudulent Vikings team where Daniel Jones exploited their secondary. Philly's got a much better secondary. Plus, they've already seen Daniel Jones twice this year.
That's dose.
So I'm just saying, they know him ins and outs. They know this offense very well. They like to go to Saquon a lot. they pretty much did their homework. They fucking blew him out of the water. No big deal. And then going into this one, I think they had a good game plan for Purdy, but luckily for them, they took him out early. They took advantage of the third-string tight end Tyler Kroft, who missed the blocking assignment on Hassan Reddick, and ultimately he injured Purdy. Unintentionally, we think.
You think it was intentional?
I mean, it looked pretty vicious from what I saw.
I mean, they are going to hit people, so I feel like, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
Sam didn't like it, though.
Yeah,
a little too much for Sam.
It was a little too violent, I'd say.
All right,
got to take it easy on the kid. He's just a child.
All right. Sam, I think we were robbed. I think we were victimized. I think we were hoodwinked, bamboozled, bent over, and just, led astray. Sam, I don't like what happened. I mean, this was fucking terrible. This was built up to be maybe two best defenses in the league. Great matchup, two dynamic offenses. We got robbed of that as NFL fans, man. I was excited all week for this game, and it fucking sucked. And it sucks because the Niners had been rolling all. I mean, Kittle after the game was pissed. The reporter asked him, "How do you feel about the outcome about not playing with the quarterback?" He goes, "How do I feel about?" They literally didn't play with the quarterback. It was fucking bullshit. And honestly, I think if Purdy was healthy, I think it'd be a really close game that could go either way.
Yeah, I think it doesn't really help when 70 to 75% of the game your defense is out on the field.
Yeah, dude, I think we were robbed. I mean, I'll give it to Philly. They were loaded. They very well might have won this game either way. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a shame the Niners, they're on their fourth quarterback, and then they literally had no quarterback. I mean, it's stupid.
There's really nothing they could have done. I mean, to get to this spot with all the injuries that they had all year, when Trey Lance went down, then Jimmy G comes in, he gets hurt midseason, then Purdy coming in, just leading them to this spot.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better storyline. And then for him to go down early in this one was just very, very hard to see.
Yeah. I like the guys on Philly like Hurts and A.J. Brown, but I fucking hate Philadelphia.
I hate their fan base more than anything. I like Jalen Hurts. I think he's a great player. Same with A.J. Brown.
Agreed.
They both fucking
Skinny Batman.
leave it all out on the field. Skinny Batman. He had a phenomenal catch in this one.
That was just a nice snag, even though he didn't.
Yeah, technically, when the replays showed it, it wasn't a catch. But, Shanahan was just like, we wanted to preserve our timeouts because they weren't sure from the angles that they showed on the Jumbotron. He didn't want to challenge
Philly fans, they threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
I know.
They booed Santa.
They're not nice individuals. I actually saw a video of some father who videotaped his son at the game who went up to a 49er fan, gave him a little wave, and then stuck up the middle finger to him. He could have not been more than 6 years old.
Menace.
So they're teaching him right.
Demon
right?
child.
Yeah.
All right, Sam, real quick before I let you go here, I know you got a busy day ahead of you. Just quick, Chiefs, Eagles, who you got? Who you like?
So I think based on what the script is saying, it's got to be the Chiefs.
Okay.
Just because
KC.
they helped them out in the AFC Championship game. He's the face of the NFL. It would not make for a better storyline to have Mahomes win his second ring.
There you go. Sam, it was a pleasure to have you back in the studio. I think everyone's, can feel really good. You got home safe. We don't have to worry anymore. Sam, God bless.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome. All right. That's all we got. Before we go, though, I'm going to get quickly. I disagree from that. I get the Eagles, just real quick. I think I like their defense. I think the Hurts is really good. A.J. Brown, I like their offense. I'm going to pick Philly. Before we go, though, I just want to give you a little preview of what we're doing next week. So next week, there is no game, but we'll have a Super Bowl preview show. We'll get into the game. Sam will be back on. We'll have your best bets for the Super Bowl. I'm also going to do a low season recap. We'll talk about what we think MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, all those big awards. So stay tuned. Come back. We're not going anywhere. The NFL takes a week off. We don't. We do our job. We come back to work in the studio every fucking day to give you the content you need to enjoy yourself at home. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. We'll be back.